Hello fellow game developers, I hope you're doing good, and today we are going to learn how to create an enemy which crawls on the whole platform just like we have seen in Hollow Knight. Alright then, I have a scene ready here, and here we have a 2D box collider for the platform for the enemy to move on, and a snake enemy which got a collider and an animator component. So right now if I play the scene, nothing will happen because we don't have any logic for the movement yet. So the basic idea is that we are going to move the enemy from one point to another, and every time it reaches the waypoint we're going to rotate it accordingly. So first I'm going to create 4 waypoints as child for each corner of the platform and give it an icon so that we can see it in the scene. This is the first waypoint, so I'm going to position it at the left corner of the platform, and I'm going to duplicate it and call it 2. And I'm going to create 2 more entries for the same game object and call it 3 and 4 for the each corner of the platform, and place them at the right position. And it's time to do some hocus pocus stuff in Visual Studio. First of all, we are going to get rid of start function because we don't need it, and I'm going to create a new variable of type float which is going to store the movement speed of the enemy, and another variable which will store the waypoints, and it will be a type of array, and we're going to access the element of array using a variable which is going to tell the logic which element of array to select. And we are going to store the distance between enemy and the waypoint in a variable of type float. So in the update function I'm going to call a new function called move, and inside this move function we are going to write all of our logic for the movement. First we are going to calculate the distance between the enemy and the next waypoint using the distance method of vector2 and save the result in a variable that we defined above. Now for the movement of the enemy we are going to use a method available in Unity called move toward. In the first parameter we are going to put the position of our game object, and in the second the position of the waypoint, and we will access the correct waypoint in array using the number, and in the third the speed at which the enemy will move. Now the enemy can move, so the next step is to make sure that it turns at the right time. So to achieve that we are going to check when the distance between the enemy and the waypoint is less than a certain number, in our case 0.2. This number will vary according to the type of enemy you have, and I have tested this number off screen, so you might want to test and trial different numbers. So I'm going to create a new function for it, and inside this function first of all we are going to store the current rotation of the object in a vector3 variable and increase the value of rotation around z-axis same as the value of the waypoint around z-axis. Now if you are wondering why we are doing it this way, then you will find it out soon. Once we have increased the value of z, we have to set it back to the current rotation. Now after taking the turn we need to make sure that we change the current waypoint to next waypoint. So I'm going to call this function choose next waypoint, and inside it we are going to increment the value of next waypoint variable by 1, and we need to make sure that once the enemy has moved through all the waypoints it starts to loop through them again. So whenever the value of next waypoint gets equal to the number of waypoints we have, then set the value of next waypoint to 0. Now let's jump right back into Unity and assemble all the pieces together. So I'm going to select the enemy and attach the script that we just created, and once we attach it we can see that we have 2 fields here. So I'm going to increase the value of array to 4, and as you can see now we have 4 new field options here. So I'm going to plug in all of our waypoints to it and bump up the value of movement speed to 2, and now when we play it nothing happens. Don't panic people, we got it under control. Reason why it is not rotating is because we haven't given any rotation to our waypoints. So the basic idea is when the enemy reach near the waypoint it is supposed to rotate 90 degrees in the negative to get the right rotation, and when it reaches next waypoint the value should be 180 in the negative, and so on. So we are going to give a value of -90 to all of our rotations of all the waypoints. So now when we play it, it is working absolutely wonderful. That works wonderful, but what if we want to create a movement like this? It's quite easy to achieve this because the way we have set up the code, we just have to add more waypoint to our scene and give right rotation to the waypoints. This is the reason why we set the z value of enemy equal to the z value of waypoint. It makes development easier, and development easier means life easier. Well, maybe not, but so I made 2 more waypoints by duplicating them and applied the correct rotation to the waypoints and added them to the array. So now when we play the scene, it is just going to follow the right path with right rotation and works wonderful. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you found this video useful. You can find the project files in the Discord server. The link is in the description below, and you can also support me by subscribing to the channel. So I see you soon with another video. Until then, take care.